So the OKC and Houston game has officially been canceled, and it's postponed, so it's going to be played at a later date. But this is a really bad look for the NBA right now because it's only the second day of the regular season. This is opening night for a majority of the teams in the league, and we already have a game being canceled, being postponed, right? And the thing is, with this pandemic and everything that's going on, when there are positive cases that come about and people have to be contact traced, we can't really deem them safe to play for at least probably like a week or so. I remember in the NFL when Cam Newton got COVID, he wasn't able to play for about a week or so. So the Rockets, are they going to miss their first 2, 3, maybe 4 games of the season? Are their first few games of the season going to be postponed because they have to take the cautious approach to this, right? Because you don't want to get other players infected on opposing teams and stuff like that if you don't know 100% the health of the players, who has what and all that, right? So this is just a really bad situation for the league, but it's also a really bad situation for the Houston Rockets too. This organization is just looking worse and worse by the day. Their reputation just seems to be going down the drain. These past few weeks, they've been scrutinized for not holding their players accountable. There are all these reports that were coming out about how they just basically let Harden do whatever he wanted. And these past few weeks, we've seen Harden continue to just do whatever he wanted, right? He's been going to parties and strip clubs and stuff like that. Even in the midst of a pandemic, he's doing whatever he wants, missing practices. He's obviously not going to be able to play. I mean, the games are canceled anyways, but there's just so much unknown about what's going to happen with him. We don't really know. And if he continues to keep going out and going to all these public events with tons of people, he's not going to be able to play. And then on top of that, you have Johnwall and I believe DeMarcuscousins going to a barber shop where they're not really distanced or wearing masks or anything, so they have to go through contact tracing. And you obviously have to put blame on the players, on the individuals for making these decisions, but at the same time, it seems kind of coincidental that we've been scrutinizing the Rockets organization for not holding their players accountable, and then of course they're the first team to have an outbreak on their team, right? It seems kind of coincidental. So obviously there's blame on both sides, but regardless, Houston is just in a complete mess right now, and I doubt any of the other 29 teams in the league envy their situation at all, just because they're in the process of trying to trade their superstar player, but their superstar player keeps diminishing his trade value each and every day. Each stupid decision that he makes, it just diminishes his trade value every time he gets into a verbal confrontation or throws a ball at a teammate. When reports like that keep coming out, it just diminishes his trade value because it makes it look like he's a bad teammate. It makes it look like he's a diva, and teams don't necessarily want to have that type of player in their locker room. And with Harden, you don't necessarily know what you're gonna get, right? Who knows, maybe he gets traded to a team and he's not really happy there, and then he starts acting like this, and then it's just, you don't want to give up too much to get that, right? So I don't know, it's gonna be interesting. I honestly have no idea where he's gonna get traded at this point. I still feel like Philadelphia is the top spot just because there's the most potential for Harden to fit in there with Embiid and having shooters around those two guys. I think that could really work, but when will that trade happen? I don't know, because it seems like Daryl Morey wants to hold on to Simmons and Embiid. I know that we have to take general managers' quotes with a grain of salt. He said he wanted to hold on to Ben Simmons, but he very well could trade him later in the season. But it seems like he's at least going to give them a shot, right? It seems like he's at least going to let those guys try to play with one another and see if they can potentially show some signs of potential, if that makes sense. But he wants to at least see if they can play well together, I guess, and get some wins. And that's fair because Simmons is obviously a lot younger than Harden, so he's thinking more long-term with that, I guess. But we'll have to see what ends up happening. Houston, they're probably going to have to hold on to Harden for quite a while, honestly, just because Right now his trade value is really low. They're going to want to try to get it up higher. Maybe they can do that by having him play in some games and, showing teams what he's still capable of, obviously. But you just have to wonder what the chemistry of the team is going to look like. They're probably not going to be very good in the locker room. There's probably not going to be a great locker room environment there. It's just, oh God, it's crazy. It's crazy. And then on top of that, they don't even have their first round pick this year, I don't think. I mean, when do they even get their next first round pick? It's not a good situation for Houston, and this is just very bad for the league. It's going to be interesting to see what Adam Silver does with James Harden. Who knows? There's people who have been saying that maybe he's going to suspend him for like 20 games for doing all this stuff, for violating these protocols, especially in the midst of a pandemic. I could very well see Adam Silver suspending James Harden for a certain number of games, and that could be a big hit to his trade value if it hasn't already been hurt enough already. So yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. We'll just have to wait and see what happens these coming days, these coming weeks, coming months. See if James Harden is still a Houston Rocket for the foreseeable future, or if he ends up with another team.